Okay, so in this tutorial, I'm going to give you a quick tip of how we actually can convert polypainted meshes to actual, let's say, whether it be game res UV mapped characters, props, and etc., or just regular characters, or your basic characters that, let's say, you polypaint in Zbrush, and then you have to get that polypaint out of Zbrush, but when you go to, say, export the model, the texture or whatever doesn't match. And I'm going to show you a quick tip on how we can actually use xNormal to go ahead and convert that polypaint that we exported from Zbrush, and then use it in Maya. So I'm going to go ahead and just basically paint our character mesh here, or just our sphere mesh, which is going to symbolize a character mesh or something. So let's just go ahead and we'll paint an eye here, paint another eye, and we'll go ahead and paint a smiley face, and basically just put a nose here. And this is just to basically symbolize, just a basic poly paint for a character here, just so you can see how it's going to work. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and paint there, and I'm just painting circles simply so that we can get an accurate representation of what's happening here and how it's actually going to look. And I just simply exported the Z-sphere from Maya with no UVs on it, and then I'll just go ahead and UV map it here. Okay, since we actually have our character sphere here painted, and I say character because technically it is still a character if you actually put something into it. So since we have it painted here, what we need to do is we need to go over to our I'm sorry, not our Polypaint tab here, our UV tab, and we need to make sure if we're going to UV this, it has to be on the lowest subdivision level, because if it, say, tries the map on subdivision level 6, it's just not going to work. It's just going to take an excessive amount of time. So we need to basically take it down to our lowest subdivision level. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and create a 2048 texture map, and we're going to go ahead and use our you can either use your PUV tiles, which is the packed UV tiles, or the group UV tiles. I prefer to use the group UV tiles because it's just easier, and it tends to do a little bit better job in terms of actually mapping the character. So we'll go ahead and use UV tiles here. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and take our character back up to subdivision level 6 here, and we need to convert this poly paint. So what we'll go ahead and do here is I think it's in our texture. Yeah, our texture map here. We'll go ahead and make a new texture, same size, 2048 by 2048, and hit new. Okay, and then it's going to turn it all blue since I actually have blue selected here, but I'll just go ahead and turn it white there. And then we'll go from new from Polypaint, and as you can see, it's going to basically group the tiles here, and you can see the paint. And then we'll go ahead and clone the texture, and then we'll come up here to texture. Okay, and we need to flip this vertically. That's very important for it to actually work inside of Maya or to work inside of xNormal. You actually have to flip it vertically. Okay, so we'll go ahead and export it, sphere, and we'll just go ahead and name it Sphere Poly Paint. Now you have to export it as PSD. If you export it as BMP, it just will not convert correctly. So let's go ahead and export that. Okay, and then we need to export our geometry. So let's go ahead and export it, sphere high. Okay, and that's our sphere low. And I'm going to go ahead and open xNormal here. It just takes a little bit. It's a good program. And here's our xNormal. We'll bring in our meshes here, since I already have 2 in there, and that's from a previous project. My apologies. So we'll just go ahead and right click and add our meshes, and we'll add our sphere high. And since we aren't really going to be baking any normal maps here, I'm just not gonna actually set a normal map to bake. So we just want to bake the base texture, so it's going to convert it to our low poly normal we actually have in Maya. So let's go ahead and bring in our PSD file there, and we'll go ahead and average the normals, which is basically just going to smooth our normals here. Bring in our low poly sphere object, and we'll average the normals on that. Go into our baking options here, and we're not going to bake a normal map, so you know what I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter. Okay, so we'll just, you know, rename it Polysphere. That way I know what it is whenever we go to bake it out. And we're going to go ahead and bake our base texture here. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit generate maps, and I'm going to pause the video while it bakes because it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, it's not going to take an extended amount of time, probably about 2 minutes or so. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then I'll come back once it bakes out. Okay, and now you can actually see that it has baked out our texture to our low poly UV mapped character, sphere, whatever, you know what I mean? So if you take a look at the original export from Zbrush compared to now what we have inside of xNormal, that's exactly what we want from xNormal, because that matches the model that we actually have inside of Maya. And so you can do this, you know, with any model that you go ahead and paint inside of Zbrush, whether it be through Spotlight or actually hand painting. And basically there you go. This is just a general quick tip for xNormal. My name is Sean Keenan, and if you keep an eye on the website, you'll see some more tutorials that'll be coming here in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and enjoy CG.